The chime of the bell beckons us into a sacred time. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston, a congregation that welcomes you no matter what you look like or who you love, and no matter how you practice spirituality, because we know we need not think alike to love alike. We extend a heartfelt and inclusive invitation to join us in meaningful worship and in service to the world. We greet all those who join us this morning, those here in our sanctuary, all of our many online viewers, así como el creciente número de participantes bilingües que nos acompañan desde sus hogares. Please make note that the responses that are typically found in your order of service are now on these laminated cards near the hymnals. It's easy to use the icons on the order of service to find the corresponding response on the card. And while mask wearing in the sanctuary is currently optional, you are encouraged to continue to wear your mask if you are more comfortable doing so. Now please join Dr. Rock for our first hymn.
Good morning. I invite you to open your gray hymnals to number 225, to the Advent hymn, O Come, Emmanuel. If you would rise in body or in spirit and join in singing, it'd be lovely.
Give comfort to all exiles. The dawn has come. We gather after the break of day. As earthly creatures, we continue our journey around the luminous sphere that is our star. The dawn has come. We gather after the break of day. Each new sunrise, each coming year brings with it new possibilities, the not yet known, that shall be. The dawn has come. As the year turns, let us embrace the newness, the possibility that is coming. For each daybreak shall bring with it chance encounters and undreamed of happenings. So come, let us celebrate the dawn and the possibilities of what shall be. No matter where our lives sit, what burdens we carry, and what hopes we have, miracles, possibilities that do not yet seem possible, may yet occur. So let us gather, friends, now in reverence for the new dawn and in reverence for the extraordinary which might yet become ordinary, the future that has not yet been written. And come, friends, let us worship together.
Celebremos compartiendo nuestras vidas, encendiendo esta luz.
We light an Advent wreath to mark both the days approaching the solstice and the advent of Christmas. Inspired by the neo-pagan tradition, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, we lit a candle in the south, honoring the element of fire. Fire burns away the old and creates space for the new. We kindle that flame again this morning. Today, we light a candle in the east, a candle for air. Air gives the gift of spirit. Spirit comes from the Latin spiritus, the intake of breath. Our spirits are us. We are our spirits. Our spirits are our breaths. Without air, we are not. Blessed be. Thank you very much. That was gorgeous. Now is the time when we send the young people off to do some different activities than the ones we do in here. So I think I saw some costumes and people are going to get ready for an upcoming pageant. Is that right? It's very exciting. So want the young people to know what an important part of our congregation you are and how special the fact that you are here is, and we love you very much. And I invite all the adults to find your laminated card so you can find the lyrics for As You Go and sing them on their way. Please join with me in a spirit of reflection, a time that some call meditation and others name prayer. Breathe with me the breath of life. Breathe in for loving, for acceptance, and with a sense of calm. Breathe out the sorrow, the division, and the stress. Inhale as we share this interwoven, intricate web of affinity. Exhale as we feel one another's presence. Breathe with me as we gather to do the holy work of kinship and support. Open your mind, open your heart. God of many names and mystery beyond all our naming, we have reached the season of festivals and holidays. We recently celebrated a day of gratitude and thanks for our families and families of choice. We began commemorating last week the anticipation of Christmas by lighting a candle on the Advent wreath. We have overlaid the neo-pagan tradition of honoring the elements associated with the 4 cardinal directions. This leads to our expectancy of winter solstice, the longest night of the year, and which has been marked since prehistory with festivals and rituals. This month sees celebrations by those of numerous faiths and many beliefs. We acknowledge that there is wisdom in many wisdom traditions and celebrate that there are many paths to a more spiritual life. We know there are numerous roads to a closer relationship to the divine. We take this time to express our gratitude for the diversity of those in our community and the multiplicity of their celebrations and rituals. It is truly a time to wish others happy holidays. But may we not be distracted by forced frivolity and forced generosity. May this instead be a time, as intended, when we affirm love, acceptance, and the joy of community. We pray in the names of all those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten. We pray in the names of all helpers of humankind. Amen. We pause now together to lift up that which sits heavy and light on our hearts. Mirta Estrada's mother, Bertha Alicia Vega, successfully underwent surgery on Friday and is recuperating in the hospital, and Mirta has asked for our prayers. Doug Carlisle has left the hospital and returned to St. Dominic Village, and he enjoys visitors. Longtime First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston member Shirley Holmes passed away at home this week at the age of 90. A memorial service will be held at the church on Sunday, September 11th at 3 p.m. Please remember her family in your prayers. We now turn to a practice inspired by African, indigenous, and pagan traditions. We say aloud or bring to mind those we wish to be held by the loving embrace of this religious community. They are part of the great cloud of witness and memory, and we will, even if we do not know their names, hold them in our hearts. In this great cloud of witness and memory, amid this beloved community, we hear these names and hold them in our hearts. Let us remember the suffering and joy amid and among our community that we do not know. We pause in awe and wonder of the beauty, diversity, and mystery that is life. In the spirit of love, in the spirit of hope, and in the spirit of compassion, I invite each of you to enter into a time of silent prayer, meditation, or reflection.
In the quiet of this place, let this moment fill with grace. This is my prayer. This is my prayer. May the sense of mystery guide us through our journey. This is my prayer. This is my prayer. This is my prayer.
Each week, Our morning offering is shared with one or more organizations that share our Unitarian Universalist values and through which we may live out our principles in the world. This week, we are pairing two organizations toward a common goal, Child Advocates and Montrose Grace Place. To tell us about this opportunity to donate to help children and youth, we welcome Craig Oninger and Marianne Cheslock to tell us more.
Good morning. For the past 30 years, Child Advocates continue to recruit, train, and support volunteers who provide a voice for children ages birth to 18 in foster care. As Harris County's court-appointed special advocates, Child Advocates provide life-saving advocacy that helps abused and neglected children exit foster care to a safe, permanent home as quickly as possible. The volunteer advocates' main job is to provide the court with recommendations about where the children they represent should live on a permanent basis. Throughout the case, Child Advocates maintain contact with everyone involved in the children's lives, from foster parents, biological parents, therapists, to Child Protective Service caseworkers and attorneys appointed by the court. They make sure the children receive the medical and psychological help they need. They meet with teachers and principals, help the children thrive in school. They dry tears, they give hugs, and throw birthday parties too. Most importantly, they serve as a constant person for the child to count on during a tumultuous time. Essentially, Child Advocates do whatever it takes to ensure that the needs of the children are being met while they are in foster care. Our effort this year is to focus on the teenagers in the systems by providing gift cards for services and stores that teenagers like. Thank you.
So the parents said to the child, "If you're queer, we don't want you in our home. Get out. God doesn't love you. God doesn't love you." Hundreds, perhaps thousands of times a year, this happens to youth in Texas. And many of these young people land up homeless on the streets of Houston. Today's offering will be shared with Montrose Grace Place, and its mission is to provide a safe and welcoming environment for vulnerable youth of all sexualities and genders who are experiencing homelessness. The program provides nourishment, healthy relationships, a safe environment, and hope for the future. Each Monday and Thursday night, homeless youth gather at Montrose Grace Place for a home-cooked, hot meal, talk with each other in a safe place, and eat along trained volunteers. A case manager helps these youth get identity cards, find jobs, and find housing. HIV education and testing is also available. The meals are cooked by volunteers from a variety of churches, synagogues, mosques, and community organizations. Montrose Grace Place opened in June of 2010, and within a few months, volunteers from this church organized to cook meals. We continue to do so today, and we welcome you to join us if you'd like. Now, we Unitarians don't have a creed. Instead, we subscribe to 7 principles, including the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Worth, dignity, justice, equality, and compassion are always on the menu at Montrose Grace Place. I ask that you live these values by contributing generously to this morning's offering. Thank you.
Those in our sanctuary will find the instructions for text giving in the order of service, and those watching the live stream will see the instructions on your screen. Our regular Sunday morning offering collection invites us to weave a tapestry of love and action. We ask you to give generously. An offering will now be gratefully received.
Please join with me to read the words to dedicate our offering found on your insert card. To the work of this church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings.
Our first reading this morning is Night on the Great River by Meng Hao Jiang, and the translator is Kenneth Rexroth. We anchor the boat alongside a hazy island. As the sun sets, I am overwhelmed with nostalgia. The plain stretches away without limit. The sky is just above the treetops. The river flows quietly by. The moon comes down amongst men. Here ends the first reading.
Our second reading this morning is by Eloise Bibb Thompson, who was a 19th and 20th century poet and journalist closely associated with the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Her poem is entitled Ode to the Sun. How many scenes, O sun, hast thou not shone upon? How many tears, O light, have dropped before thy sight? How many heartfelt sighs, how many piercing cries? How many deeds of woe dost thy bright light not know? How many broken hearts that are pierced by sorrow's darts? How many maddened brains that are wild with passion's reins? How many soul-sick lives, stabbed with despair's sharp knives, hast thou above the skies not seen with thy radiant eyes? Shine on, majestic one. Shine on, O glorious sun, and never fail to cheer my life so dark and drear. Whene'er thou shinest bright and show thy brightest light, the cares I know each day silently steal away.
And now I invite you to open up your gray hymnals to number 55, Dark of Winter. Please rise in body or in spirit and join as we sing together. Soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will.
In the Jewish tradition, there is a midrash, an interpretation of the Torah, the sacred text about twilight. It points to a spiritual practice that is essential for many Unitarian Universalists. The midrash has to do with the waning of the light, that period of time when it is no longer day, but not yet night. We are at the darkening of the year. Now, I'm not sure about you, but for me, this time of year prompts me to search for solace in the magic moments that exist at the edge of darkness. There's something special about the liminal times that occur right before we experience, as we sang earlier, just a moment ago, the dark of winter that is filled with quiet calm. Liminal time is what exists between what has been and what is not yet. Susan Frederick Gray, the president of our Unitarian Universalist Association, reminds us. We are living in one now. We Unitarian Universalists know that we are always living in one. Of our tradition, our president has said, "We are a religious people of imagination and possibility. We are a living tradition. We know that revelation is not sealed. We look to the past for wisdom, and there is richness to be found in the memories of yesterday. And we have the faith that the future will bring the unexpected." Now let us approach that midrash. It concerns a story that is likely familiar. You probably know the myth of the earth's creation found in Genesis. There it is imagined that God birthed the world in 6 days. On the first day, she brought forth from her own sacred depths the heavens and the earth, and then she split the heavens in two, so that there might be light, which she named day, and darkness, which she called night. Then she divided the heavens again. There was sky and there was water, and that was the second day. Then she pulled the water this way and she pushed it that way. She reached down, and from the very depths she brought forth the land, and the third day ended. She gathered together the light of the heavens into grand orbs, the sun, the moon, the stars, all of the celestial bodies. She set between them an infinite darkness, pitch blackness punctured by brilliance, the cosmos put in motion. There was morning and there was evening. Ordinary time came into existence. The fifth day saw God bring forth all manner of swimming and flying things, critters great and small, of sea and sky. On the sixth day, she completed the natural order. The beasts who dwell upon the land were fashioned. The text in the English translation I use contains a sparse imagination and names cattle, creeping things, and wild beasts of every kind. And so too came the construction of the first humans. In our ancestors' bodies, God blew the blessing of breath and the complexity of consciousness. Then the sun set. Heaven and earth and everything else had been created. After the sixth night, on the seventh day, it's told that God ceased work and blessed the day as a day of rest. And so she rested. Perhaps I like to imagine her with a tall glass of lemonade and a good novel by the seaside. That much she might well remember. Well, except for the bit about the lemonade, because I made that up. But now, here comes the midrash. It concerns the waning of the light, the liminal time between when the sun vanishes under the horizon and the moon and stars start to claim the sky for themselves. Then in the twilight on the sixth day, right after God had finished making everything that follows the discoverable laws of the universe, she created the miracles. The rabbis of old did not agree precisely on what the miracles were. One produced a catalog of 10, Some added 3 more. Others included an additional 4th. Rabbi Jeremiah ben Eliezer spoke of 8 stipulations, impossible stories recounted in the biblical texts. It's unclear whether these were meant to supplement or replace one of the earlier lists. Nor is it certain that the miracles were entirely supernatural. One set of the things created in the diminishing twilight contains the rainbow as a miracle. An interpretation of the interpretation, a midrash on the midrash, if you will, is that the miracles also included those things in the natural universe that humanity has not yet discovered or found a use for, but whose existence and utility will be revealed when the time is right. Miracles are mysterious. They are possibilities that exist beyond possibility. So perhaps it was inevitable that the rabbis could not agree upon the nature or the number of miracles. But that's not the important part of the interpretation. No, I want to direct our attention elsewhere. Where do you think it belongs? I suggest we focus on the very idea of twilight, the liminal time, the waning of the light when we are caught between this day and the next, when night is not yet, but day is no more. It is on the cusp, at the transitory juncture, in the liminal time when unfathomable possibility is found. That is one of the teachings of that tradition. There are times when solid, noble things occur. In the myth, the earth comes into being, the heavens are born, the natural order is found. Then there are times when, to invoke Karl Marx, all that is solid melts into air, and what had been impossible becomes possible. A miracle occurs, and what you never thought would happen, happens. Is this not the pattern of most of our days? Day follows day, night comes after night. Each has its predictable pattern. Weekdays, I wake up. I get the boys their breakfast, I walk Asa to school and return home to brew a pot of tea. Lately, it's been Earl Grey mixed with blue cornflower petals and served with a dash of sugar. After my own breakfast and a few minutes with a magazine, it's time to get on my bike and ride to the office. And so it continues, a predictable pattern that ends when I click off the light. Is it not the same for you? Do most of the hours of your life contain a certain sequence, first this and then that? And then sometimes something happens. I catch an unexpected spark of beauty. The moon comes down to invoke our poem. Or have a conversation I did not anticipate. Or something shifts, something that I had not imagined occurs, and suddenly my life is different than before. Is that not what has happened for you? The midrash, the twilight, the waning of the light, these are reminders that even in the particular fixity of our world and our lives upon this planet, there are always those periods in between when the possibilities beyond the possible exist. God, the biblical myth, insists, wove miracles into the very fabric of the universe. Recalling this is a core Unitarian Universalist spiritual practice. Susan Frederick Gray encourages us to remember it when she spoke of the liminal time in which we now find ourselves. The world we knew is passing. All things grow strange, she told us at our General Assembly this past summer. When all things grow strange, she urged us to recall, we Unitarian Universalists trust the dawning future and welcome it not with fear. We do not necessarily believe that what comes next will be better, but we understand, in her words, that each new day, whether the metaphorical coming era or the literal daylight, contains within it the unforeseen. It is a Unitarian Universalist spiritual practice to remember that revelation is not sealed. The future can be different than the past. No, let me restate that. The future will be different than the past. At this time of year, as one 12-month terminates and another one commences, as we experience the waning of the light, we are invited to open ourselves to that spiritual practice. The rhythms and stories of some of the winter holidays encourage us to sit in the liminal time of possibility. Neo-pagans and some Christians, and most Christians, observe Advent. We light an Advent wreath to mark the Sundays before the arrival of the winter solstice and Christmas. Each is a holiday which, in the Unitarian Universalist tradition, we conceive of as a day of possibility. The solstice turns one solar year to the next. In our winter solstice ritual, we metaphorically burn away the old and welcome the new. Let go of the fixity of the past and summon the possibility of the future. Christmas, for the majority of Unitarian Universalists, is a time to recall the possibility that exists within each human life. In traditional Unitarian Christianity, Jesus is not imagined to have been the unique child of the divine. Instead, he was someone who woke up to and uncovered the divine spark within. The purpose of our religious communion in this understanding is to help us uncover the spark and encourage each other to let it burn and shine ever more brightly. Every year in our Christmas Eve service, we hear Sophia Lyon-Fawz's words, "Each night a child is born is a holy night." Parents sitting beside their children's cribs feel glory in the sight of new life beginning. They ask, where and how will this new life end? Or will it ever end? The waning of the light. The month of December is a time when the very cycles of nature invite us to open ourselves to the liminal. The old year is passing. The new year has not yet arrived. We are in between. And in the in-between, we find that there may be miracles to come. Here, too, there is something to be found in the story of Hanukkah. It's a relatively minor Jewish holiday that has taken on great importance in our pluralistic society. For some in the Jewish community, it is a counter to Christmas, not in a theological sense, but in a cultural one. For others, it remains a holiday that is but a latter interpolation into the holy structure of reality organized by the High Holy Days. None of the rabbis lists miracles. None of the rabbis' lists of miracles contain within them the miracle of the Hanukkah lights. But there are miracles of light nonetheless. You may know this story. In its most abbreviated form, it recounts a time when there was not enough sanctified oil in the temple to keep the holy fires lit. The temple had been defiled and the sacred oil was desecrated. Upon the temple's rededication, one tiny vial of pure oil was found. It was only enough to last one night. It was going to take 8 nights for more sanctified oil to be made. And the miracle is that the oil lasted for 8 whole nights until the new pure oil could be brought into the temple. So Hanukkah is another holiday of waiting in the liminal time for a new possibility to occur. It's not always comfortable to be in a liminal time, to live in the waning of the light. I imagine the discomfort of the temple priests as they prayed for the oil to last not 1 night, but 8, and gently, carefully nursed their flames that would linger until more fuel arrived. I suspect that they had the faith that somehow the oil would endure. And I also assumed that they were filled with doubts about the possibilities that they sought would come into being. Here, again, is our spiritual practice. We could call it the embrace of the obvious. There will be a new dawn. The future will be different than the past. And we are called to be honest about the unease we feel about the passing of the past and the arrival of what will be. Let me invite you to consider now how this spiritual practice can work for us as Unitarian Universalists on 3 levels. the personal, the congregational, and the societal. The personal, it is one of my privileges as your minister to officiate memorial services. Such rites touch upon the very depths of what it means to be a religious community. They're rituals in which we recall what binds us together as human beings and as a congregation. They are times when the love that we have for each other is most palpable. And there are times when we share vivid stories about the acts of love that make life holy. The tenderness of parents towards children, the beauty of friendship, the commitment of partnership, the transformative power of justice, the strength of fellowship are all often invoked as part of the transformative power of love in such rituals. Memorial services are liminal times. For the living, they mark an ending and a beginning. They are an opportunity to sit in the tension between the what was, the life that we had with our loved one who is now gone, and the what will be, our life in the future. It is not always an easy thing to do, but we Unitarian Universalists do it with the knowledge that life continues, not a particular life, but all life, and that in the continuation of life comes new dawns and the constancy of love. Perhaps this is an overly grim note for a Sunday morning service, so let me just say to you this. When next you find yourself in a liminal time, when all that is solid has melted into air, when whatever you expected to occur in your life has not occurred, when you are facing a moment of despair, pause. Breathe and recall the teaching that revelation is not sailed. There is room for miracles, for possibilities beyond possibilities in our earthly lives. Say to yourself, or say out loud, another day will dawn. Another day will dawn, and it will bring new possibilities. It might be that they feel like blessings, and they might feel otherwise. Perhaps the pattern of life, as you've known it, will continue, or perhaps it will change. But either way, a new day will dawn, and it will bring a future that has been different from the past. This spirit is found in Eloise Bibb Thompson's poem, Ode to the Sun. There we find the poet reflecting upon a sunless sky, about many heartfelt sighs, many piercing cries, and many deeds of woe. But then comes the day star, and she declares, "Shine on, O glorious sun, another day has dawned." The congregational. We reflect the very newness of the dawn, the unfixedness of the future within our practices as a congregation. We intentionally do this by opening our life together to the liminal. We've been doing this together, you and I, minister and congregation, over the last few years as I've served first as your interim and now your developmental minister. It is our collective task at this time to be together in the possibility of twilight and share life between your last settled ministry and your next. As part of living in the liminal time, this time of possibility, we have been exploring a series of questions about the future of the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston. Perhaps the most central of these has been, what kind of church do we want to become? There's a sense within that question that the congregation of the future will be different from the one of the past. That sense is further spelled out in one of the items you assigned yourselves in your effort to answer it. And that is, to use your words, to craft a mission, vision, and covenant that are common knowledge and, along with a strategic plan and annual vision of ministry, inform decision-making. Embedded within the question you asked yourselves and the charge you gave yourselves is the very idea that revelation is not sealed. Rather than assuming that the purpose of the congregation will be the same that it was yesterday, or that your purpose will be the same for all time, you're living into the truth that what this community is called to be and do today is different than what it was called to be and do 100 years ago. This week and next, the board's Mission, Vision, and Covenant Committee will be sharing their draft statements. You can find a table out on the breezeway and expect an email in your inboxes tomorrow. I encourage you to read the statements and reflect on them, but I also encourage you to do so in the spirit of twilight, for they are not yet finalized. Let the committee know what you think of them. Do they speak to your heart? Do they embody your aspirations for this community? Are they documents that you think can guide congregational life in the coming years? The congregational practices of reimagining our mission, vision, and covenant points to a final aspect of the spiritual practice of opening ourselves to liminal time. On a societal level, when we embrace the truth that the future will be different than the past, we again acknowledge that revelation is not sealed. There are still miracles, still possibilities that exist beyond the possible to come. It is the greatest of human follies to take culture or society as fixed. It is core to Unitarian Universalist practice to recognize that both are fluid. A cursory glance at history will reveal that there have been many ways of being and many ways of doing throughout our species' existence on this planet. There is a beautiful diversity of religions. There are thousands of languages. Everything is changing all the time. Words that are used by one generation can have a different meaning for the next. Unitarian Universalists proclaim this reality in the core of our theology. This sentiment is expressed in a statement made more than 100 years ago by the Universalist minister, L.B. Fisher. He wrote, "Universalists are often asked to tell where they stand. The only true answer to this question is that we do not stand at all, we move." We move. Here again, I invite us to return to the liminal. We are in the liminal season when one year fades to the next. At such a time, our tradition challenges us to be open to what comes next. There will be a new dawn, there will be a new year, and in the coming day and in the arriving year, there will be possibilities beyond what we think are possible. For revelation is not sealed. In the twilight, in the time in between, in the waning of the light, and at the crowning of the year, may we remember that there remain miracles. That it might be so, I invite the congregation to say, Amen.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join with me in reading the words that are printed on your laminated card. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
There always remain miracles, possibilities that exist beyond the possible in our lives. May you find one today. Love where you did not expect it, beauty where you had no chance to see it, joy where you did not anticipate it. There will be a new dawn. Go in peace, go in love. May our lives be a blessing. Amen. Thank you so much for watching our service today. We're glad you're part of our online community, where we welcome people who are diverse in faith, ethnicity, history, as well as gender identity and sexual orientation. There are many different ways you can get involved in our community. One you can do right now is by clicking like below or subscribing to our channel. If you're interested in joining our congregation, please email us at membership@firstuuhouston.org. Thanks so much for joining us.